You need to get coached.
Did somebody say they needed to get coached?
That's right, folks. The hashtag Get Coached program launches at the end of this month. So hit the link in the description. Go ahead and get enrolled. We'll do a call. Make sure it's a good fit with you. It's going to be an amazing program. It's all live in real time, building an entire community of people who are coming together to encourage each other. We're not using the stick or the carrot as motivators. We are using synergy and inspiration to help each other get to a very high place. I couldn't be more excited about it. So go ahead and click the link in the description, bootsygreenwood.com/getcoached. Now let's rock. What's that, Devil Ducky? This is the most important lesson in the whole book. I couldn't agree more. Well, Devil Ducky said it, and it's true. This is the premier lesson in Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Definiteness of purpose is the first principle that can keep us from drifting. The devil starts to spell out how we can beat him. And boy, let me tell you something. This dude is as subversive as Yuri Bizmenov, okay? I mean, he is pre-medieval. I mean, this guy, he's got tricks, all right? He's smart, and he knows exactly how to induce us into drifting, into that whirlpool, right? And isn't it funny that that lines up this week with what we've been talking about on Monday? The induced shift, the whirlpool, the induced shift that makes us go down, negatively. It's pretty amazing. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Definiteness of purpose is truly the anchor that connects us and keeps us anchored, and grounded into who we really are. That's where that's where our identity lies, in our purpose. Do you know what your purpose is? If you don't, then I highly recommend figuring out what is your reason why. That's a big thing that we're going to be working on in my program that's upcoming. And we're also going to be not just figuring out what it is, but implementing it and helping one another. So this is critical. Absolutely. Definitiveness or definiteness of purpose is something that is make or break. And the devil, boy, he has got some gnarly tricks to knock us off of our purpose. The devil says that definiteness of purpose is where all self-determining people have to start, and it's where they have to stay in order to be self-determining, in order to beat him at this game that he likes to induce called drifting. He says that when people come into the world, their mind is fresh. And so basically they pick up on the habits of their environment. That's their parents, that's maybe the people at school or the people at church who tell them that they need to fear the devil and be afraid. They pick up on this and also other things through imitation. We all imitate what we see. We can't help it. It's just human. It's what we do. So we imitate fear if there's a lot of fear in the household, and that can cause us to drift. Similarly, we imitate greed, we imitate anger, we imitate frustration, we imitate negativity, we imitate everything we see in whatever the environment is that we grow up in. So if that's unhealthy behavior, then we imitate it and we project it. We pretend like it's true. Whether it is or not, it doesn't matter. And at that point, it starts to become true to us, for us, because the world begins to reflect it. We begin to pick up on these things that we have created in our minds as habits. And once they're habits, they're basically set into our subconscious mind. We project it outwardly. It reflects from the world. We see confirmation. Boom, confirmation bias. All of a sudden, this is true. This is true for us. So this habit of basically creating habits through imitation of other people digs down into our subconscious and roots into us a law of hypnotic rhythm, keeping us on that particular track. The devil says Get them while they're young. That's what he says. He's a creep. He says what so many dictators and rulers in the past have said, and that's get them while they're young. Get that mind before it's fully developed to believe whatever it is that you think they should believe, and then that way they can go down a whirlpool of thought and induce shift into negativity and then induce the drifting. It is very subversive. I mean, the devil is like definitely the player hater of all the player haters' balls all put together. He's got some subversive tricks, and the first one is to just literally try and induce us to believe things about the world that simply aren't true and create negative thought habits, which create a law of hypnotic rhythm that we ultimately go down to like a whirlpool. Then the devil says something that's really, really, really evil, and that is that most people who do stay on their purpose, he has another trick for them as well. And the way that he gets to those folks is through envy and through greed and through control over other people. So once people stay on their purpose, they ultimately get drunk on power and they will violate the rights of others. And as soon as they begin to violate the rights of others, the law of compensation or balancing forces will come in and equalize that playing field. So it's important to keep in mind that once you do have a purpose and you become grounded in it and successful, not to put yourself on a pedestal above anyone else, and instead allow everyone to be exactly as they are. Stay on your purpose, but don't ever elevate yourself or think that someone else's life is better than yours, or their situation or their circumstances are more favorable than yours. The devil says that every act of good carries with it the seed of an equivalent danger. Now this is some heady shit. Let's be honest. The seed of equivalent danger. Now we think about this, and this goes both ways. We're going to come back to this idea. But every good action also carries with it the seed of a potential negative action. All right? Now, he says, you know what the path to hell is paved with, right? As he goes on to talk about love as well as fear. We talked earlier about fear and how important fear is and how he can use fear to induce us into the habit of drifting at a very young age and go down that law of hypnotic rhythm, creating negative thought habits. Well, love is an equal tool of the devil, and sometimes, like greed and envy, that is sort of his last trick. If you've been doing pretty well, he can mess with you through love, and that will begin to eat away at your willpower and your ability to reason. Because love, while it's the most beautiful thing in the world, we only have one word for love in the English language. So I'll differentiate unconditional or agape love from, romantic love, right? Or even love, for other people, like in a friendly or platonic way, right? Those two things are different than unconditional love. Unconditional love is truly being in love with life itself, I would say. Whereas the others are a lot more conditional. So through conditional love, the devil is able to steer us off from our definiteness of purpose, off of our purpose, and onto other tracks that are ultimately not going to be positive for us. They're going to lead to us drifting or eroding our willpower just because, for somebody else or for some other thing. He says that you have no obligation to any other person in this world other than yourself. Period. End of story. Napoleon Hill says, well, doesn't that make people hard or cold? And the devil says, well, if you want to call it that, then okay. But really the truth is that you need to establish firm boundaries and have a very deep sense of what you're here to do and really associate with people who are going to help you accomplish that. And people are going to come in and out of our lives. It's unfortunate, but it is a fact of life. And sometimes it's just not going to work out long term when we have feelings for people. It's definitely happened to me. I can think of a couple of years ago where I was in a relationship and I got completely off track, completely off base. And I really wasn't even serving my own needs. I was serving someone else's. So we have to be very careful because we can be seduced by love. The devil then says the love for anything or anyone except the love of definiteness of purpose may become dangerous. It's one of his most effective baits, and he leads people into the habit of drifting who he could tempt with nothing else. Then the devil says that love and fear combined give him the most effective weapons with which he induces drifting. So those pendulums, fear, love, the two pulling at you this way, that way, this way, that way. Ultimately, you're giving up your anchor point, your center, in order to serve this or serve that or react to this or react to that, and you lose that center of gravity. The devil says to give him control over a person's fears and tell him what he loves most, and you may as well mark that person down as his slave. Man, that is dirty, you know? Like I was saying earlier. Whew, this guy is a psycho. Without will and reason, there is nothing left to support definiteness of purpose. So that is his aim. He is trying to erode our will. He is trying to erode our reasonable faculties and basically break us down so that we get off of our purpose, or we think we are superior to someone else because we are on our purpose. Then he'll take love and maybe, try to seduce us that way, through some sort of a loving relationship that makes us get, again, off of our purpose, and then we begin to drift. Then Napoleon Hill begins to ask the devil, which is better, having a sound plan and not much definiteness of purpose, or having a weak plan and definiteness of purpose? To which the devil responds, weak plans applied with definiteness of purpose eventually become strong plans. He talks about how every failure has the equivalent seed of advantage. Every failure has the equivalent seed of advantage. Like we talked about earlier, right? Every good thing has the potential seed for something bad. The same is true on the other side. Every bad thing or every temporary defeat also has the seed of an equivalent advantage. And what he's saying here is this: the law of hypnotic rhythm, or whatever habit or pendulum you establish in this particular direction, will sometimes get, messed with. It'll get its rhythm will be messed up and stopped, and then you'll have temporary defeat, which is failure if you stop trying. But if you stay with definiteness of purpose, then you shift in the stream of variance or the alternatives flow, and you establish a new law of hypnotic rhythm, a new habit. And then at that point, you keep shifting over here, over here, over here, over here, until you find the right plan. And then that definiteness of purpose will take you all the way to the promised land, because you have never let go of that. You've always stayed true to it, and that is the anchor point. Again, your center of gravity. And then this is my favorite part of the chapter. Napoleon Hill asks the devil if immoral plans and nefarious plans applied with definiteness of purpose, if those work out. And the devil says that they seem to temporarily. That nefarious and manipulative plans applied through force and coercion, they have temporary success, but the law of compensation will wipe those plans even. They will balance out, because even though those are applied with definiteness of purpose, they are taking advantage of other people's rights, and thus they will not be long-term success. So he says, via the law of compensation, plans based on immorality may temporarily bring success, but enduring success must take into consideration the fourth dimension, time. Time is the enemy of immorality and injustice. Definiteness will persevere. It is the friend of justice and morality. Anybody who's nefarious enough to think that they can take advantage of people and establish that as a long-term strategy for success has got some comeuppance coming uppance. So folks, that's going to do it for this one. I really, really, really can't emphasize the book enough. Listen to the book. Listen to the interview with the devil. Listen to this particular part of the book, of the interview with the devil. Find your purpose. Join me in the hashtag Get Coached program. It's going to be amazing. There's a lot of like-minded people who are going to be helping each other out. We're all going to be there as participants going through 8 weeks, holding each other accountable, but truly, it's about inspiration. It's about love. It's about synergy. It's about exponential growth. And that is the kind of community that I'm going to be fostering, and I couldn't be happier or more excited about it. So please, go to BootsyGreenwood.com/getcoached. Come, get coached. We're all going to be getting coached. And yeah, you coach me, I coach you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for watching this video. BootsyGreenwood.com. Big shout out to my people over at ContentSafe.co. Oh man, thank you guys so much for keeping my content safe. I can't thank you enough. And I can't thank you enough for watching this video. I really appreciate your time and attention. We'll see you next time.